Hi, I'm David Wiseman, Vice President of Secure Communications at BlackBerry, and I'm joined today by Ramon Pinero, who's our Vice President of Product and Services for BlackBerry Ad Hoc. Today, we're going to have a conversation about how AI and machine learning will transform critical event management. It's been a really interesting past year. All types of critical events have bubbled up. Obviously, the ones around the pandemic, but also a lot of cyber attack issues, a lot of IT system outages as people have moved to remote working. And that's really just increased the need for organizations in general to do a better job of holistically managing, all of the different types of critical events that they face as they're doing their business. So, whether that's a natural disaster, whether it's a cyber attack, an IT outage, all of these, there's a set of processes that need to be dealt with. How do you prepare in advance? How do you respond? How do you recover? And how do you really learn from what you did and improve so the next time around, the critical event is going to have a lower impact on your organization. But at the same time, there's some changes that are really happening in the market and the technology in general. We're going to start to see a lot of evolution and how we actually work through these processes. And that's what we're going to really focus on today. So I'd like to welcome Ramon. Welcome, Ramon.
David, it's great to be here, and we're lucky to be here too. The last business trip I took was for this exact conference last March in 2020, and it's incredible journey that we've had since then, serving our customers under these constraints and really learning about the challenges that we faced over the last year. Thanks again. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and talking about the last year and things we've learned, can we get a few examples of that? What are some of the key learnings that you've seen people have?
There's a lot of key learnings for this past year. First, let me recognize this entire crowd. Everybody in this conference helped our organization to deal with or to recover from the varied events that we all experienced. The pandemic and COVID, of course, wildfires here and abroad in Australia, civil unrest in the United States, a global cyber attack for SolarWinds. And it's together that we kind of learn from all of the challenges that we had to deal with. Now, some organizations that we've serviced today were ready. Some thought they were ready. Some were completely unprepared and caught off guard. Those challenges that we experienced within our own organization were around IT readiness. Is there enough bandwidth for the VPN, for the entire BlackBerry Corporation to work from home? Was there enough laptops? The collision in the personal life and work life with school, kids at home, and the demands of work, accounting for personnel, and how we were able to assess the safety status of BlackBerry employees while protecting their privacy and their health information, and adapting to a new way in servicing their customers under the constraints of the pandemic. We couldn't travel anywhere. I mean, in some situations, we really had to adapt to a new way in which to deliver solutions for systems that our customer needed at a moment's notice.
So the organizations that were unprepared or not fully prepared, what were some specific challenges that they were encountering?
Well, we saw lack of coordination across the organization. So some organizations like IT had plans, business continuity teams had other plans, supply chain managers had yet other plans, and a lot of times, in our experience, those plans were not well coordinated or codified across the organization, so they were siloed in a sense. We also saw organizations with a lack of expertise or manpower. So that is, HR, they were doubling as business continuity practitioners, but no real concrete plan for a pandemic or how to send their employee or workforce home safely so that they can work and mitigate cyber incidents now that they're on their home Wi-Fi, if you will. We saw inconsistencies in collaboration tools, a gap in the ability to communicate broadly across the entire organization, or real-time collaboration across the departments, some departments using Teams, other on a chat client like Slack, others coordinating through SMS. And then a lack of centralization or awareness of their processes, right? If the response process did exist, the general population of the employee base didn't know. And so it was a scramble to get people ready to work from home, and it was a scramble to get the insights of the safety status back to the decision makers in the organization. We thought and saw and recognized that it's important to codify and standardize, train, and exercise those processes, as you all know, but equally as important is to invest in standardization of the tools as well. So some departments using Teams, some using SMS, all to quarterback the response to these incidents was just ineffective. And that's where we were able to help, and one of the main learnings during this last year.
Thanks, Ramon. So, most organizations are able to kind of muddle through and actually recover from that pretty quickly and get running in new ways in record time. But, when we look forward, there's actually going to be a lot of changes that start to happen in this market space in terms of capabilities and some specific technologies such as AI, machine learning, automation that are actually going to change how we go through that workflow and that response flow to a critical event. But let's talk about that and what the impact's going to be on how people are doing their jobs going forward.
That's really important, Dave. You're spot on. So first, it's important to really emphasize the need for one platform. You can't be switching applications expecting to effectively manage the entire incident lifecycle. That's one. Now, since that's the key, it's also key that those particular platforms have the engineering and intelligence to help make fundamental decisions around these areas around preparedness, response, recovery, and improvement. Now, in this space, leveraging AI can help reduce your recovery time and avoid disruption. In the same way, your AI assistant on your phone helps you to arrive to a destination on time. It knows where I'm supposed to be. It knows where I am right now. And it knows factors that may impact my arrival time. So it warns me, you should leave now. You're expected to be across town in 20 minutes, and there's been an accident. So why not apply that same intelligence to the critical event management space?
So how do we actually do that? Say in terms of our preparation processes, our preparation plans, how can we apply AI and ML to improve that?
If we think about those different phases, first on the preparation, AI can help you build out your plans. It can identify the types of threats that you may face just based on the location of your personnel. So if you know that you're in a floodplain or in the Midwest where you're dealing with severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, and you're implementing your plans for the first time and building them out, then let the AI help to suggest and make you aware of the threats that surround you that may not be terribly obvious. In addition to that, you can help to accelerate the implementation of those plans so that you have the full spectrum of threats and their corresponding response plan ready when you need to activate.
And then when you start to activate and you move into response, how do these technologies potentially help out, and how's that going to evolve over time?
Well, right from there, that's when the AI kicks into action. So it's constantly doing the analysis of threat intelligence and looking for the intersection of those threats against what you're planning for and your assets, your people, your buildings, your supply chain. So let the AI, in a sense, be your co-pilot and do the constant monitoring of what you care about the most and what may impact what you care about.
Ramon, and how do these new technologies start to blend into the recovery phase of critical event management?
Well, that's key. So the constant analysis of assessing the employee safety status or personnel safety status and surfacing those insights to stakeholders in the organization is what provides the decision support. What do I mean? How do I know that 14% of my building occupants are not healthy, right? I need to make a call. Do I shut down that building? Do I have everybody work from home? Do I bring the healthy occupants back? Surfacing those insights from the constant analysis in the background of the safety status and the threats, let's say it's a COVID case count, is key to providing that decision support. And that decision support can be done, again, by your AI co-pilot automatically and quickly, so your time is spent in other places.
So this kind of implies that everyone in the conference here, this is their field. This is what they do. They built their expertise and careers around. Kind of implies that how they're going to do their job is going to evolve as well, probably, right? If the AI, that co-pilot, starts taking on more and more, where are people going to put their added time and that they have available?
I'd say in improving and preventing the situation, right? The AI is going to help surface the bottlenecks in your recovery or response times. It's up to you to overcome those bottlenecks, right, once they are recognized. How do you prevent an incident from happening at all? One example is in the cyber world, where we could completely avoid a SolarWinds situation using the same technology. We have firsthand experience in that, where this same AI technology was deployed within our customer base before the 2017 WannaCry cyber attacks, and not one of our customers were impacted by those attacks because the AI was constantly monitoring the background and detected that threat. So we moved from time being spent monitoring situations because you let the technology do that for you, and you moved to prevention and overall improvement.
I mean, this also implies, the greater need, I think, to kind of pull together a consistent system, a consistent process for all different types of critical events. Because as soon as you're starting to train machine models and have AI algorithms monitoring things, the more data, the more effective it can be, I think. Is that accurate?
That's absolutely accurate. So the more exercising you do of the system, the more you train the system in knowing what you care about the most. You're exercising your different response plans based on the real world impacts that they may have to your organization. The AI will also start to help you exercise by suggesting when, how often.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting point. We kind of talked about the AI initially as the co-pilot. But once we get to the point where it's suggesting exercises, suggesting things to look out for, does at some point it actually become the pilot, and the teams and everything are keeping an eye on the pilot, but the pilot's in charge? How does that transition happen?
I think we're years away from that particular transition. You still need the practitioners, the captain of the ship, if you will, to maintain. There's times for autopilot and there's times for you to take control. As we see the technology develop, there will be a time where time is of the essence for a particular threat, so that you may automate the full end-to-end activation of a plan, the response procedures, and the communication completely through the AI. And where your time is spent ensuring that personnel and employee base is safe and the business is back up and running.
So Ramon, yeah, I think this is really exciting. It's going to open up new opportunities for people and how they're responding and managing these events and letting them become much more proactive, which is going to add significantly more value to the business in terms of maintaining the operations, in terms of maintaining the safety of the staff. It's really great that these technologies are now at a point where they can actually start to be introduced into critical event management. And I know your team at BlackBerry is deep into this, and we really appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with us. Any final thoughts, Ramon?
Yeah, I think that the takeaway is that the combination of cutting edge technology, in addition to decades of all of your experience as business continuity practitioners, together help to protect people, organizations, and get operations back up and running. So thank you very much, David.
Thanks, Ramon, and thanks everyone for attending this session.